Hey guys, so I wanted to talk about the knife that you're looking at. I've owned this knife for a little while now, and you may recognize the knife as something that you've seen on Jim Skelton's channel. Now, Jim did a video on William Tuch, and in that video he talked about William as a maker, and he had a couple of his knives and kind of showed off the knives and kind of what he was impressed by. And I figured I'd make a video. It's the exact same knife. I had purchased that knife before Jim's video, and just to kind of tell you guys about my experience getting the knife built and owning the knife and having had the knife now for a little bit of time, and just kind of my impressions of it. You might ask why there's a spinner here. So there's a spinner on my desk. I enjoy it, and also it helps keep the camera in focus. So something to look at as well when I'm just talking. But to Jim's point, to kind of get to understand this knife, you have to understand William Tuch, Tuch. And my experience was I wanted a dual action automatic. Now I have one in a build stage with Stan Wilson, and I definitely wanted to get my hands on one before I took delivery of the one that's in progress with Stan. And if you do some research, you will see that not very many people will build a dual action automatic, and especially not very many people will do it well. William Tuch is one of the makers that is well known, not only for his art knives, but he's kind of getting into the tactical world, and he builds a pretty good automatic as well, because that's where he started his career building. So I just Googled him. I kind of talked to some people, and they said he pretty much was, out of the only handful of makers who do it, he was pretty much what I was looking for. A guy who knew how to build a great automatic, but whose fit and finish would be able to compete with Stan Wilson. And I Googled his name, found his website, called the number, got a hold of him, and I couldn't have been any more thrilled with my experience. As we know, for those of you who collect custom knives, oftentimes I should say, makers are so busy they're not particularly available. Of course, if they're talking to customers, they're not building knives. But it was a very pleasant experience getting a hold of William. I ended up talking to him about what I wanted, and this is what we came up with. This knife was sent to Jim to try to get some kind of publicity as William is trying to, with his son Eric, kind of break into the tactical knife world. But I just wanted to talk about this particular knife, my experiences owning it, and what I feel this knife does good and why it's going to stay a part of my collection. So first of all, I'm really not sure why I wanted an automatic, but I absolutely just wanted one. I've handled them before, and I absolutely understand that they really don't have very much use besides the fact that people like them. And also, I wanted an automatic that didn't scream automatic. There are a lot of brands out there that you look at the knife and it's an out the front and you know exactly it's an automatic, and I certainly didn't want that. I wanted a dual action automatic, so something that would just use a thumb stud if you wanted to, and only when you wanted to you can deploy the automatic. So that being said, I wanted something that didn't scream automatic, and what we had come up with was a hidden scale release that he had been designing for actually it was for this knife model, and he had designed it for another collector, and it had worked so well he has decided to continue to make this knife. In fact, right now I have another knife that should be just finishing up this exact same model. If you guys know how I collect, this one's a little bit, in my opinion, too nice to be carrying around, but the other one has just got some carbon fiber, but same concept, and I intend to carry and use that one. But I will honestly say that Williams' fit and finish really is really some of the best I've ever seen, and I've seen some very nice knives. The attention to detail is pretty amazing. If you guys have any experience in the automatic world, Not very many makers, especially who make automatics, care about things like centering. But this knife has all of the things that you'd come to expect from a world-class builder and even more. So if you take a look, it's got Chad Nicholas Blackout Damascus for a blade and backspacer. And I was explained that you want to generally have the same material for the backspacer and blade. It has a little Damascus thumb stud, and of course, Damascus hidden hardware double bolsters with micarta inlays. So if you saw Jim's video, this knife actually is pretty tricky to use in the sense of both Jim and I, when we first got it, we knew it was an automatic. We could not figure out how to fire the damn thing. So that in itself was pretty awesome. It's not your standard scale release. There's no hidden anything here. It just kind of, the way it works is very unique, and really, honestly, you have to have it in your hand to kind of get the exact feel of how this thing works. But a couple things that really impressed me, again, this is a little bit above and beyond in the tactical world, but William jeweled the liners. I don't know if you can see that, but he's jeweled the liners. He's stippled the liners as well. He's gone in by hand and done all of this by hand. So these are all hand built. No automation on any of this scale work, or blade is hand ground, and this is really an amazing piece of artistry here. All this work here, and Jim had alluded to it, and I thought it was pretty interesting. Again, no CNC, nothing like that. It's all done by hand files. So really, even no automation for stuff like this. He just goes in and grabs some files and goes to work, and out comes the knife. But you can see how beautiful the anodization is, how it just changes colors, and all with all the stippling, it just sparkles. So I've really never seen such attention to kind of a dual action automatic knife. Not only that, I did ask him, if I had to service this knife, how would I go about doing it? And the simple answer was, you send it back to me. And I think that's about fair, because I don't see any hardware, and I don't even know if I had the tools I'd want to try to go in there and open this thing up, it being an automatic. So this really is quite a masterpiece of engineering right here. So the way you release it is you put your thumb here, you give it a squeeze, and out comes the blade. And you can see William's maker's mark right there. He really has paid attention to every little thing. You can see the design on the inside of the knife, as well as so he pays the same amount of attention to the inside of the knife as the outside. Okay, so again, why did I get an automatic? Well, I think where I am with my knife collecting, I like all sorts of different knives, and certainly this knife, falls under the category of kind of borderline art knife. Now, this is not going to be something that, you'd go and chop down a tree with. Obviously, it's a very thin blade, so I'm sure it's a great slicer. Now, we talked about it. I wanted a very sharp knife, so he put a hell of an edge on it, so that makes me pretty happy. But yeah, this is not going to be the hardest use knife in the world. This pocket clip is pretty small here, very thin right here. We talked about that on the tactical version. I'm going to have it pop out a little bit more. So while this does work, I wanted something that you could use with like some tactical pants, something with a very, very thick pocket. So William's going to do that for me. I'd say one of the only problems that I have is it's very addictive. Just like you flick a flipper, you just kind of want to sit there and open this knife, and kind of it being an automatic with the spring, you kind of don't want to wear it out. But man, is it a lot of fun to articulate. It came with this little sheath here, so fits right in. And I couldn't be more pleased. The presentation and just kind of the attention to detail, like I said, not only for the knife but the case is quite impressive. I am going to do a video when I get my other, well, this model's called the Eclipse, when I get the other Eclipse in. So if you guys follow William Tuch, you'll recognize the knife as the Sparrow Hawk. Now he's made the Sparrow Hawk for some time, but the dual action automatic version of his Sparrow Hawk is the Eclipse, as he called it. And just an interesting note on that. So I called him and I said, hey, I want to order this automatic knife. And he goes, hey, no problem, I'll make you a knife. And I said, well, what's the name of these knives? And he doesn't really have names for knives. He's more of an art knife guy, and kind of every single knife he just kind of makes. And I basically thought to myself, well, you probably want to name your knives if you want to get into the tactical world, because all the tactical knives are named, and that's how people kind of talk about knives. I mean, obviously, I don't think he's only going to make one or two of these. Hopefully, he'll make quite a few of them. Like I said, I am buying another one, so I'll own two myself. But he named this the Eclipse, and he doesn't even use that nomenclature when you talk to him. He'll just talk about an automatic or the Sparrow Hawk or the automatic version or whatever it is. So, but if you are looking for a knife like this and you do call him, just tell him it's the Eclipse and he'll know what you're talking about. But it's a fantastic knife, and like I said, I just wanted to show it off. I've had nothing but a great experience. It's on washers. That is the thing. You can actually see them right there. So it has a very Sebenza-like feel. It's not necessarily a drop-free knife. I mean, you can shake it closed, but it doesn't go down all by itself. And I'm not sure if you can even do that in the double actions or not. But it certainly has a very, very unique glass-like feel when you're opening and closing that knife. Lockup is great, Perfect. So really a neat, fun knife, something that I'm proud to have in my collection, and something I never thought that would be in my collection. So if you're thinking about an automatic or a dual action automatic knife, take a look at Bill and look at the work he's done, because really, like I said, I mean, this fit and finish and attention to detail will rival the Stan Wilsons that I have. So really, really cool knife. Bill's a really great guy, and I appreciate you guys taking a look at this knife. And if you have any questions, just let me know. All right, thanks a lot, guys. Bye.